Hey guys, it's Paige and welcome back to my channel, Hauntingly Vintage. Today we are going to be talking about a new haunted Texas gem located in Palestine, Texas. It's called Bowers Mansion. No, not Bowser, Bowers Mansion. So starting with its history, as always, it was built in 1878 by merchant Henry Ashe, who was then later sold to in 1884, and starting its process of renovations by Andrew L. and Nellie O'Connor Bowers, thus starting its many years of renovations and finally being finished to what we see today in 1921. However, in 1926, when senior Andrew L. Bowers passed, it was then deeded to his children, and in 1970 it was made a historical landmark. The Bowers family itself owned that home and that property for 72 years. So obviously this piece of land in this home was passed down from generation to generation of the Bowers family. It was in 1955 when the last generation of that Bowers family owned that home. It was then sold in the 1970s. It was bought and restored in 1970 by Carl Avira, if I'm pronouncing that right, and he then turned it into a bed and breakfast, which didn't last very long due to all of the activity in the home. So when I was doing my research on this home, there wasn't much history I could find. There's not very many archives on the home of its history besides when it was sold, who bought it, and then kind of the architectural, what they were doing when they were restoring the home. So, but to this day, many people who are entering the home are now getting more and more activity, and the house there are a few deaths on record that happened in the home that we're about to get into. But so far that I've found everything, or all the spirits that have passed in the home still reside in the home. All right, so you know what time it is. Let's get into those residents. So we're gonna start off with the biggest story to hit the headline at the time that happened in the home, and that was the murder of Andrew L. Bowers Jr. and his wife, Mary Bowers. So a little geography of this little mansion. It does sit on the corner of a street, as well as it is next door neighbor to a funeral home. So if that doesn't foreshadow really the events that took place, then I don't know what else you could call it. So this tragic event happened in 1950, and the morning of the murder, Andrew L. Bowers Jr. had actually called up the local funeral director, who is right across the street from him, and his name was Bailey. He called him and told him his wife was very sick and to come over. However, he told him, Bailey, to not come over right away, to wait about 10 minutes and then come over to the house. Now, Bailey did think that this was a little strange, but he wanted, maybe she wasn't indecent or, something along those lines. So he waited, and then he got over to the house, walked up to the front door, and he was about to knock on it when he heard a single gunshot. He immediately opened the door and walked into the home and found Andrew L. Bowers Jr. in the front living room with a single gunshot wound, and he ended up calling 911. He took Andrew L. Bowers to the hospital. Well, then the police got there to start investigating. He didn't even go check on the wife, as what's been on record. But the police ended up showing up. They went upstairs and found Mary Bowers in her bed, in her nightgown, still laid on her side with a fatal gunshot wound to the back of the head. Now, Andrew L. Bowers, Jr., he did end up dying of his fatal wound at the hospital. After the police did their investigation, they did not find a suicide note as to why he would do this. They did find a note that was typewritten and signed by Andrew Bowers Jr. that was leaving his whole property to one of his sisters. Now, over the years that this place has been kind of slowly getting investigated, they have found out that they're not the only spirits, or the ones of the Bowers that have died in the home are not the only ones that linger around the property. Since there's a funeral home right across the street, they do believe that there is a portal between two trees that allows the residents or spirits to wander to and from the Bowers mansion, as well as to the funeral home and kind of just around the property. Some say that through the portal that travel, there could be good spirits, there could be darker spirits that decide to wander through. So there's a big mixture of what or who likes to visit the property. But I will say that there, besides Andrew Bowers Jr. and his wife Mary who reside there, there is one other member of the family, and his name is Bernard. Bernard was he was handicapped and he was mute, so you can imagine his life was pretty lonely, not being able to talk and just to watch. He mainly spent his days either in his room by the window, or they did have a sun porch for him, and he really admired the birds, and he was an avid bird watcher. The biggest thing Bernard is known for is slamming doors. There is one door in his bedroom that actually leads down into the servants' quarter, and that door he frequently likes to slam close. There is another door that also leads into his room in the home that the staff has been, or the people who own the property it's been known to be closed after they've opened it. In the winter, they do keep it closed to kind of keep the heat in the house, but from time to time that door is either open when they have it closed. Investigators are still unsure if that is a sign to get out of his room, or if that is his way of communicating, since he was mute and handicapped growing, for his last remainder days. So we don't know if that's his way of communication and just wanting to let people know that he is there, or in a good way, or in a bad way, like as in get out. Back in December of 2022, me and my sister actually went and investigated this mansion for one night, and we did get a little bit of evidence from one spirit, I can't remember his name, through the spirit box. He is a fan of whiskey and playing cards. Now, he, of course, I cannot remember his name, but he is one active spirit most of the time. He will come through to talk to you, and we did that little spirit box session in Mrs. Bowers' room. Now, there is another room that leads to the sun porch where I felt very eerie or being watched. So there is something that is constantly in there that they have reported people feeling the same way, or they just feel really uncomfortable being in that room. Throughout the night, we did get other pieces of evidence through the EMF reader by the servants' quarter. We were asking multiple questions and it would go almost to red. So that is a very active spot as well outside of the home. So they've told us the whole property is haunted, not just inside the mansion. There's also a spot we used with dowsing rods that was over by the hanging tree, and we were asking questions like, is Bernard here? Can you show us, point to where he would be at? And we did get evidence. It would always turn toward the house, which on the back side of the house is where his sunroom is at. So we do believe he was there, probably just watching everybody who was doing the nightly investigation around the property. Another good spot in the home to check out is also the basement. You can go down there and investigate there. We did not, we just toured it. There is supposedly a haunted doll in the basement that it gets moved from time to time, whether it's by people playing jokes or it moves on itself. The owners did have a medium go into the home, and she said to not touch the doll. So I'm assuming that's something really bad, but people do it from time to time as a joke, and then sometimes it might just move on its own. Nothing bad has been reported in the basement. I just think it's more bad vibes, so who knows. That is a risk for you to take if you ever decide to go and investigate this place. There have been reports of scratching and physical touch. There's been reports of people getting lightheaded or headaches in this place. One lady who I think was kind of a medium that was with us that night, she only lasted maybe 2 hours and she ended up leaving. One of the tour guides that we were there with Haunted Rooms here in Texas, he said that he was on the property one day and he was doing some renovation or doing some work outside, and there was another lady with him, and he happened to be bent over picking up something, and out of nowhere a brick came and hit him right on the head. It busted his head open, and the girl saw it happen. She didn't know what happened. He didn't either. So something must have been really angry with him, or I don't know. There's no explanation for it. If you've heard of Sam and Colby, they did go and investigate this place. That's where I heard about it, even though I live here in Texas. They went and investigated in 22 as well. I think it was around springtime, maybe June. But they did get a little bit more evidence than we did. We did get a few things like flashlight related that they would respond with, as well as these other little touch sensitive, like kind of REM pod devices in a way. But their biggest evidence they got was when Colby was in Bernard's room, and they did get that door slam on camera. So go check out their video because it was really, really good. But the tour guy said after that brick incident happened after they had left, I think it was maybe a day or two after, and that's when that happened. Of course, the other tour guide helped him, and luckily for us, nothing that extreme happened the night, which is a good thing. But yeah, so it can get very violent. I feel like since this mansion has not been really discovered just yet, I feel like more people going in there and communicating. It's small, but it packs a punch. You're gonna get what you want. I'm sure of it. The more people go in there, the more it's gonna open up that line of communication, and I think this house holds more than what we will be expecting. I am definitely up to going back in and seeing if we can get a little bit more. The more you visit, I know that's what people always say, that you open that line of communication, but we will see what happens. And without further ado, that is all I have for you guys today on Bowers Mansion. It's fairly new to the paranormal world, so if you are a local in Texas, do check them out. There are multiple places in Palestine that offer tours. We went through Haunted Rooms. They have a few different branches, or a few different, I guess, tour guides around Texas. So they do a few of the DFW ones, is the people that we were with. And hopefully whenever you do go and investigate, you will have a good time, whether it's with good communication or not. I mean, it is a really pretty home. They are doing renovations on it again, and I believe there are talk about maybe possibly turning it into another bed and breakfast, but that's all down the road from now. Thanks for tuning into this week's video, and again, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free. I will hopefully have another video for you guys next week, but in the meantime, as always, stay spooky and happy hauntings.